There are a ton of incremental games out there, or clickers as they are better known as, and today I'm going to be tier listing as many as I reasonably can. Some of these games are fantastic, while others, no, come here, are absolutely terrible. We will start out at F tier and work all the way up to S tier, the clickers I consider the best of the best. Massive thanks to the funny Frogman for inspiring me to make this video. So without any further delay, let's begin. And for the first clicker of the video, we have idle fishing. As you may probably notice, almost all of the artwork done for this game was generated by AI. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics on why AI is atrocious for the art industry, but using AI is a lazy approach to anything, especially to game design. It is much more fulfilling to create something yourself because it will look a million times better than whatever AI could puke out. But even disregarding the AI generation, the game is just not that fun. You stand there, reel up fish by clicking, buy buildings that barely help and upgrades that barely help, and sometimes when the fish is rare or epic or legendary, you get a minigame like in Dredge. But unlike in Dredge, this minigame is not difficult in the slightest, so if you've ever handled a keyboard and mouse before, it offers absolutely zero challenge. One neat thing I did actually like about this game is how you could upgrade your boat and hire employees. Shout out to my boy, Oscarito.
That is my best friend. That's the man that I love. I love him like he's my brother.
I never really got far into upgrading my boat nor my employees, seeing as I had played only an hour total because this game wasn't really all that engaging. And one last thing before we move on, of course this game has Ascension, and I just wanted to mention that almost all of these upgrades are completely worthless. F tier. Easiest placement of my life. Doge Miner. No! I spilled my drink everywhere, no! You are kidding me, man. No, that stain is never coming out. I just got this new I just got this. This is never coming out. Are you kidding me? Just go away. Leave me alone. F tier. Screw you, Doge Miner.
Dare you to shoot your own foot?
No, I'm not going to because I actually did this once and it hurts.
I'm going to shoot my own
Go
foot.
ahead. Oh!
For our first game of D tier, we have Pick Crafter. Right out of the gate in the first 10 minutes, this game just bombards you with never-ending pop-ups. Then, once your restraining order on the pop-ups is finalized, the game leaves you alone and it becomes incredibly boring. Click on the pickaxe, it mines the blocks, and you spend these blocks on a better pickaxe or gear to increase your picks per second, and you use your pick currency to travel to new biomes. If what I'm saying doesn't sound interesting at all, that's because it's not. You can also use your pick currency to buy upgrades in the shop here, and just like idle fishing, all of these upgrades are completely worthless. They didn't speed up the game at all, didn't provide any unique upgrades, barely increased anything, and is overall just a totally redundant upgrade shop. Somehow, if you were to overcome the monotony, this game randomly becomes overly complex once you get to the deep caverns. You are now required to manage this furnace to create other blocks so you can use those blocks to access the other biomes. But just look at how much garbage you have to make just to get 25 bedrock out of the 125 necessary in order to progress. I have no idea where all of this complicated recipe stuff came from, but that was the final nail in the coffin for my enjoyment. Also, I watched Argo whilst playing this, and I just wanted to ask, how did this movie win Best Picture over Django Unchained? D tier. Just go play Minecraft. Laika. You play as a wolf restoring wastelands into beautiful fields by punching the ground and running through grass to get points. Then using said points, you bring them to a pretty unique tree where you can upgrade your energy, strength, how fast you run, and many other upgrades I am currently forgetting. The gameplay loop of Laika is the first main reason why I kind of didn't like it so much. Quite literally, all you do is just run through grass and make it blue, and, through the usage of upgrades, you can bloom flowers like roses and sunflowers, which contributes to better currency. The second main reason why I have placed Laika in D tier is because of repetition. Both repetition in terms of gameplay and the game itself, and what I mean by that is, Laika is a lot similar to other clickers we will be listing, and was easily the worst out of the three. Maybe if I played those other clickers last and played Laika first, I might have liked it more, but the gameplay loop just wasn't that enjoyable. I do have to commend the game on its sprites and general modeling. They all look really great, and it's a shame that I didn't find myself liking this game as much as I thought I would. A lot of this stuff does justify its price on Steam, but the gameplay just isn't to my liking, so I'm giving it D tier. And also, I played a lot of these clickers for an hour only, and if it didn't engage me well enough, it usually ended up receiving a lower rank, and that was the case for Laika. If the first hour didn't hook me, then I don't expect the other hours to be any different. D tier. Cell to Singularity. You play as someone or something participating in an experiment to further understand evolution. You start from a simple amino acid all the way up to mammals, and I'm sure eventually humans. You can also do an experiment on dinosaurs and even the entire solar system. Essentially, you are micromanaging all of these different experiments to see how evolution works. This game has a lot of stuff inside of it, and all of it is not that great. Cell to Singularity is like a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none type game, meaning it has a bunch of different elements to it that aren't particularly good, but because it has a wide range of stuff to do, it is respectable. You notice that a lot of these clickers in these lower categories are in these spots because they didn't gauge my brain well enough. Now, I'm not saying you need to have Subway Surfers or Minecraft parkour up on the screen at all times, but when your incremental game is really fast at the start, then becomes a complete chore to play after about 30 minutes, then it's more of a pacing issue. Take the solar system experiment for example. It was super quick at the start, and then you sink time into it, and then it just becomes a waiting game. Something that helped me with this though is transitioning between all three different experiments, because offline production would kick in if you weren't in that specific experiment. That was something I really loved about this game, but once all three experiments grinded to a halt and became waiting games, that's when I lost all interest. D tier. A little disappointing honestly. And for our last entry in D tier, we have Bitburner. I must be honest and clear. Bitburner is only here because I don't understand it. I thought about scrapping it from this video entirely, but I didn't want to, so here we are. In Bitburner, you play as a hacker, infiltrating other computers to steal their money and data for... yeah, that's just it, money and data. What separates Bitburner from all of these other clickers is the fact that if you are actually a good programmer, you will breeze through this game. Now, I am in fact a terrible programmer. I barely passed my computer sciences class in high school, and that was a few years ago, so I don't remember a lick of anything. The game encourages you to write scripts, and well, you kinda have to in order to progress, but even following the laundry list of instruction the game provides, I could still not figure anything out. So, this will be the only clicker on here that I don't actually agree with what tier I'm giving it, because it's not the game's fault, it's my fault. What little I did understand, it was pretty fun, and I liked the feeling of being one of those smart hackers, like the GOAT, Luther in Mission Impossible, but I am not and never will be one of those hackers, or even a programmer for that matter, so a majority of this 1 hour recording was me trying my damnedest to figure anything out. D tier. I'm sorry that I didn't live up to your expectations, Bitburner.
This guy here? You know what? He just left.
We have now finally made it to C tier, where the somewhat good clickers reside. And for our first entry in C tier, we have Download RAM Idle. You play as a person who has a funny email sent to them with an even funnier program inside. Obviously, you immediately download this program, and lo and behold, it is a RAM downloader. This app is where you spend the rest of your days. At first, the game looks convoluted, but in actuality, it is very, very simple. You buy these download speed generators using however much RAM is required. You can then start generating gigahertz by using CPU power, and then once you have enough money and RAM, you can buy a whole new PC and start the process over again. Download RAM Idle was a lot of fun, the first game we have on the list we're covering that I actually thoroughly enjoyed. I mean look, the game even has automation, which doesn't even take a lot of time to obtain, and is insanely helpful. Once you've sunk enough time into this game, you will be generating a ridiculous amount of RAM on top of money, new computers, gigahertz, etc, and that scratches every spot in my brain. Once you've made enough, you can unlock Singularity, which is an artificial intelligence powered by supercomputers. You can also repair your computers, and that provides a bunch of different boosts to everything and anything, and it is the main crutch you'll use to maximize RAM production. Downloading more RAM is something everyone has wished to do, so feel free to pursue your RAM dreams within this game. C tier. Universal Paperclips. Shameless plug, but I actually already made a video on this game, so if you're interested, go check it out, but the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I've already played this game. Universal Paperclips managed to get on my radar because of Germa, so thank you Germa for literally ruining my brain.
Okay, if I chop you up in a meat grinder...
You play as a person who builds an empire off of paperclips, with the main goal being to replace all matter in the known universe with paperclips. Let me just skip an hour or two into this recording just so you can see how much stuff is cluttering the screen. And trust me, all of this is necessary to perfect the manufacturing of paper clips. You first start out clicking to make paper clips, then using your meager amount of funds you can purchase auto clippers to do it for you. Then you can buy better marketing to increase the demand of paper clips until a point where you can start upcharging them and make insane profits. I played this game for 3 straight hours, and it quite literally took over my brain in that time. I'm not really sure what clicked so much for me with this game. I think it was because at first it looked simple and kind of crappy, but then opened up and became incredibly inventive. For example, the stock market. When you learn how to actually use the investment engine in this game, you can literally generate billions of dollars and just beat the first stage of the game. But that takes time. Not a lot of time, which I really like, but it did take me 3 hours. C tier. Absolute insanity. Idol Slayer. This is the first game where I played for a while because I found it very addictive. I know 4 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but you can accomplish a ton in a clicker in just 4 hours. You play as a slayer who begins going on a fantastic journey to save the world, I guess. Start by jumping to collect coins, then you start fighting bees, then golems, where you prestige and do it all over again. There's also these random boxes you can hit that activate different frenzies, like a coin frenzy or an enemy frenzy, which is the one you want, or can simply boost your coins per second. I really love how this game looks and feels. What surprised me the most though was the jumping mechanic, because a lot of these games don't really have a model you encompass, you're just staring at a screen or something. All of these sprites were clearly made with love, and I highly appreciate that. It must have been a long and delicate process considering it is a free clicker game, so I can honestly commend this game for doing that. Fighting is a little bare bones though, as you either just jump into the enemy or walk into the enemy, and that's about it. You also don't have a health bar, so damage to you doesn't exist because you're... The upgrades are really terrific as well. Everything matches the aesthetic they have going on here and actually provides value instead of being worthless. To also keep things interesting, there are different dimensions in these time trials where you collect these bubbles to reach faster stages of the trial, all for coins and Slayer points. The only reason I have Idol Slayer in C tier and not higher is because of the Slayer points. The only way to acquire Slayer points is to kill enemies, but they are few and far between, and even if you do kill an enemy, it doesn't give much to the token bar. This ultimately led to me giving it C tier. Even after acquiring 125 of these souls, the game was still really slow, and I put a lot of these points into making this faster. I played for legitimately 2 hours, and at the start had 0 in the bar, and at the end I had only, wait for it, 14. It just takes way too long. C tier. Shark Incremental. This game is a lot like Download RAM Idol, so I put them both in C tier because they are very similar in quality and in appearance. You play as a deranged man with a pet shark that begins eating all of the fish to have ever existed in the known universe. During your escapades, you can level up your shark using the fish it has eaten. You can upgrade how much fish it consumes per level, and that's about it. Every other upgrade is pretty much the same thing but worded differently. I really enjoyed Shark Incremental because of its simplicity. Typically when it comes to these clickers for me, overly complicated is sometimes a good thing, because it means more stuff to do in the long term. But on occasion the opposite is better, and that applies here. Automation is easy to obtain. Obtaining several prestige shards only took me about 30 minutes and is overall a very fast-paced clicker. I only made it to the exploration tab, so I leave it up to all of you wonderful people to find out just how far you can extend this shark eating adventure. C tier. Round of applause for Shark Incremental.
How about every time I land on one of my properties, I get $100? How about that? 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 Whose turn is it? My turn? How about that? Rick's face when he saw the gat.
Alright everyone, no more messing around. We have finally made it to B tier, and what better way to start B tier than with the classic Mr. Mine. You play as a miner slash manager slash businessman with the express goal of mining a giant hole into the earth for money, resources, and even more money. Easily my favorite thing. My favorite thing about Mr. Mine is its fantastic ability to introduce you to new features without it being overly complex nor taking way too long. 10 kilometers down, boom, super miners. Employees that can help boost a multitude of different things. 15 kilometers down, boom, trading post. People will occasionally offer you amazing deals that can help speed up progress. You were never bored with Mr. Mine. It was so apparent that I ended up playing for 3 hours straight. Granted, your digging progress slows down significantly to further pad out the game, but enough is given to you to keep you entertained on top of the numerous upgrades that add another reason to continue playing. If you think you're not getting enough resources per second, then you can just hire more workers and force them to do everything. I was also insanely sick during a lot of these recordings. Mr. Mine is when I was at my worst, but even though I was in a very bad mood because of that, I still found Mr. Mine incredibly engaging. So, you may be wondering why I didn't rate Mr. Mine higher on the list. Well, that's because of other clickers coming up next. Compared to the other things in B tier, Mr. Mine is nowhere near the same level of quality, but that doesn't diminish its effectiveness of keeping you entertained. B tier. Fantastic start for B tier. Dodeca Dragons. You play as a person obsessed with gold to the point where you start bending the fabric of reality using a dragon, magic, fire, and alchemy. I made mention of simplicity in the shark incremental section, and that is beautifully applied here. This game could have easily been profoundly convoluted, but it thankfully wasn't in the slightest. I found myself getting bored at a lot of parts during my playthrough of Dodeca Dragons, but there was always something around the corner that instantly revived my interest. Don't like using fire and gold to achieve wealth? Well, now you can just use alchemy to boost your wealth 100-fold. Don't like using alchemy to boost your wealth? Well, now you have magic to boost your wealth 1,000-fold. A lot of these clickers make the mistake of wasting your time with these worthless upgrades, but this is not the case with Dodeca Dragons. It seems like every single upgrade you unlock increases production significantly. It is very noticeable, which makes it a very fast-paced clicker, and I love it with all of my heart. By the end, I had a dark dragon that literally skyrocketed my wealth into uncharted areas in our galaxy. I also just wanted to shout out my dragon, Bloopity, a close companion whom without I would have never achieved such greatness. B tier. Easily my favorite clicker in this category. Node Buster. You play as an entity who is constantly being harassed by various types of squares. Your only goal in this simulation is to destroy as many as you possibly can. Then, using the currency these squares drop, you can purchase a wide variety of upgrades in a very unique skill tree. Try to recall earlier when I reviewed Laika. This is the second game out of the 3 that I compared Laika to, and I feel like you can already see why it is better. It's more addictive, more fast-paced, better upgrades, and really, it's just a better game. The sheer number of squares you can spawn in with the usage of upgrades is baffling. I mean, just look at what is going on the screen right now. The game is always keeping you on your toes and encouraging you to rack up sprees, as you can upgrade this little box you have to eliminate the squares in higher quantities. To be perfectly honest, I don't think you can get bored of Node Buster, as the upgrades keep refreshing your engagement on top of higher and harder levels, tankier squares, and is constantly making you paranoid on what could happen next. It's just, man, I love Node Buster so much. B tier. Play this game at my funeral. Idle On. You play as an epic gamer on a fantastical adventure for wealth and glory. But then, a massive troll epically trolls you by sending you down this pit and you lose literally everything you've ever known. This is where the real game begins. You create a character, do the tutorial quest with help from Scripticus, and are given the choice to pick from 3 classes. The warrior, the archer, or the mage. Seeing as I am the most unconventional person ever, I chose the mage because every game I play I usually choose the warrior class type. And yeah, this class really sucks. There is a lot for me to talk about regarding Eidolon because there is just so much going on in this game. There's a story, there's characters, witty dialogue, main quests, and side quests to the point of being somewhat overwhelming. I can't be expected to talk about literally every single thing about this game, especially as I only played it for 2.5 hours, but I'm gonna try and review Eidolon in a very condensed way. So, I like the freedom of choice it provides by allowing us to go back and forth to whatever level we please. In case a later stage gets boring, we could just head back and do something else. I like the 3 class types you can choose from and the specific gameplay elements they provide as well. Like for example, for the warrior class, you obviously want to base your character around strength. However, for the mage class, you obviously want to base your character around mana production and magic. However, what I don't like is the amount of time you have to spend in order to make your character feel powerful. Now listen. I understand that this is the point with incremental games, but for Eidolon, it is just insanely slow. Like, otherworldly slow. It's kind of to the point where the upgrades feel worthless, and I know you all understand how I feel about pointless upgrades. There's also an inventory with its own unique gameplay elements with armor and different weapons, and man, there is just so much going on inside this game. Also, whoever took the name Bloopity, so now I have to be Bloopity 2 and 3, you best sleep with one eye open. B tier. You better watch out, Bloopity 1.
I'll tell you what. When we're all done here, I'll buy you a nice big family-sized bottle of top-shelf lube, and I'll tickle your balls till your big man stop.
Welcome everyone to A tier, the clickers scratching the surface of perfection. And what better way to introduce A tier than with Dixium? You play as a person who begins to establish a museum empire using trinkets and treasures you dig up yourself to display inside of your museum. You also do it with your colleague here, this little blue guy. The minute I began Dixium and engaged in the first excavation, I knew I was going to place it in A tier. There is just so much that is great inside of Dixium. The plot, All of these valuable upgrades, all of these beautifully textured treasures, and all of these levels. It's just such a good game. It only took me about 3 hours to 100% this game on top of the story, and I loved every second of it. The literal only reason I can't consider this game S tier is because of the length. I know I have said previously you can achieve a lot in a clicker in just 4 hours, but this one was one of those clickers where I wish it was longer so I could spend more time playing it. Every waking minute you play Dixium, you genuinely feel like you're making progress. In some other clickers, there are moments where you don't feel like you're accomplishing close to anything, but that is not the case for Dixium. You are constantly shown how much progress you're making with all of the trinkets you collect being shown right in front of you, on top of all of these people enjoying your museum. Dixium does not waste your time bombarding you with useless information, janky UI, or anything along those lines. It just tells you to go and excavate, and you can pretty much learn the entire game from there. All of these levels you excavate in are both beautifully handcrafted and difficult, because you need to buy better upgrades in order to actually find trinkets under the soil. When I excavate a new level and get my ass handed to me, I get immense satisfaction whenever I grind to buy better upgrades and then come back to that level and whoop its ass. It is such a cathartic feeling and gives you a great visual sense of progression. I loved Dixium from the moment I began playing, all the way until the credits rolled, and I do not feel like any minute I spent here was wasted. A tier. Please, go and support Dixium if you can. What lurks below? You play as a person at the ruins of Gloom Hollow, a sunken city with a strange substance where you are tasked with uncovering its secrets to find what lurks below. Get it? I said the thing. I know it will sound crazy, but I managed to finish What Lurks Below in 25 minutes. It is a very short game, the shortest one we have on the list, but oh boy, I could not get enough of those 25 minutes. I love this game's art style so incredibly much, easily my favorite thing about the game, but it's not the only good thing about it. You have these weird devices that pull the strange substance out from the depths, and in turn, you condense it down into currency. Using this currency, you can buy upgrades to make these devices more efficient, straight up buy more of them until the point where you transition to a different currency, and that is literal human souls. You then unlock this distillery where you get the final currency of the game. After all is said and done, you find and unlock an ancient gate at the bottom of the pit, and once opened, unleashes a giant hand to take over the world. I would just like to reiterate, all of this happened in 25 minutes. What Lurks Below may not have been a long clicker, in fact your time here is extremely brief, but what little time you spend here, it is all completely amazing. It does not make the cardinal sin of providing you with worthless upgrades, but does the opposite, as all of these upgrades make gameplay sense and lore sense, so the best of both worlds. It's just a shame this clicker wasn't longer. I would have easily spent 10 to 12 hours here diving into this otherworldly pit. In short, What Lurks Below was awesome. A tier. Leaf Blower Revolution. You play as a man dedicated to blowing all kinds of leaves outside of his field of view. It doesn't matter where he is in the universe, if there is a leaf, it must be blown away. What's great about Leaf Blower Revolution is the sheer amount of leaf variety and level variety within its confines. I only played for 3 hours straight, and in that time I unlocked 6 different leaf types and 3 different flask types, on top of 4 areas out of the... Oh my god, 60 areas? What the hell? Right when you're about to get bored, the game introduces you with either a new leaf blower to use, a new level you can unlock, a new currency you've acquired, and literally all of the above. I have fond memories of Leaf Blower Revolution specifically. It is ingrained into my memory more clearly than other clickers, all because I watched Interstellar while I was playing it. And man, what a fantastic movie that was.
Cooper, what are you doing?
Docking.
I also really loved the prestige shop the game had. It didn't feel like I was making a bad decision when I bought anything in here, because everything in here is so very worthwhile for your adventure. There's also lore inside of this game, but a lot of it is learned by reading your journal, and I ain't reading all that. Once flasks were added though, it kind of soured my mood a tiny bit, as you now have to use converters to acquire them, which adds unnecessary steps to the process and inhibits you from blowing leaves as a converter menu takes center stage. The process was automated however, so it wasn't completely irritating, but the flask's mere existence added padding, at least to me. But to reiterate, I only spent 3 hours playing this, so there's 100% a lot I am missing out on here, but I'm pretty satisfied with how far I got and how much I was able to showcase here. A tier. The introduction of converters has been a disaster for the human race. And for the final clicker in A tier, we have Minutescape. I used Minutescape for the funny death clip in the intro, so get prepared for a lot of dying. You play either as something controlling this green cube, or you play as the cube itself, as you dodge multiple different pellets to inflate your best time surviving. This game is great and horrible at the exact same time.
How can it be both? It can't. It can't, but it is. It's paradoxical, and yet, it works.
Minetscape is the final game out of the 3 I mentioned previously, and is without a doubt the best one. This one felt more fluid and fast-paced compared to Laika and Nodebuster, and it is a lot more roguelike than Nodebuster, so it's the best of both worlds. I must preface that I'm not a sadist, but sometimes I do like to challenge myself, especially when it's funny for content. Minetscape is the very definition of the challenge I'm speaking about. Maybe I'm just atrocious at video games, but this clicker was just so difficult for me. F you. I found myself raging like an angry, underdeveloped caveman at several points throughout this game, and I'm not really sure why, considering it wasn't that bad, but I am easy to anger, so there's that. Over the course of your playthrough, you can unlock valuable upgrades that helps extend your survival timer significantly. It's almost like that is the point of a roguelike. You can make the box you are moving inside larger, you can make yourself move faster, you can slow down time and make yourself smaller. There's just so much variety in these upgrades that makes tackling this game a lot easier. I'm very proud of my personal best, 1 minute and 20 seconds, seeing as I only played for 51 minutes, but those 51 minutes were very eventful and memorable. At the time of writing this, Minetscape is only $5, so I strongly recommend you to buy this game and try it out for yourself, as I think it is one of the most innovative incremental games I've played in years. A tier.
Close to finding this girl. I just found a damn doll a few days ago. You found a doll, Dale. That's what you did. You found a doll.
Come on, girl, you got walkers all around you. They're in the woods.
Breathe in the fresh air, everyone, for we have made it to S tier, the clickers that I have deemed the very best. Starting off this beautiful category, we have Clicker Heroes. You play as a person who embarks on an incredible journey of slaughtering as many creatures as humanly possible. You employ other adventurers using coins to help you in your journey, ranging from just a normal human being to literal gods capable of widespread destruction. Every 5 levels you are given a boss to destroy, and once you do, you progress into a new looking area with new enemies that can absorb more damage. Clicker Heroes is not a game I expected to put in S tier initially, considering people have probably been very upset with my categorizations, but the more time I sunk into the game, the more I started to love it. By hour 1, I was completely addicted, and I ended up playing for 4 hours straight. I really like how Clicker Heroes waste none of your time as you are immediately thrown into the game, and everything doesn't take a million years. You can assemble an extremely decked out cast of characters in a very short time span, and that is very satisfying for my ape brain. I feel like the point of incremental games is to show you how much progress you've made, and it really should make you feel powerful, especially in a game like this. In Clicker Heroes, this is the case and then some, as progression is fast, satisfying, and you really do feel powerful given enough time. You can literally do septillions of damage, and that isn't even that many for a game like this. I also really dig this game's art style. Like I mentioned before, every 5 levels you transition into a new area, and are given new enemies to fight, and they are always unique to that area and look amazing. I just want you to keep in mind that this game is free, so the expectations were quite low for me, but I was honestly just blown away by the level of quality put into all of the models. Whether it be the people you employ or the enemies, they all just look so damn good. I also love how it does the cookie clicker thing where you are given bonuses for having a certain amount of heroes employed. It gives you a reason to actually spend coins on these heroes rather than just leaving them in the dust. You can also obtain better versions of heroes called Gilded Heroes by reaching higher levels. Now, from what I remember, I only had 2 Gilded Heroes, but they skyrocketed my progress into the stratosphere, which was just so beautiful to see. S tier. Very fun clicker. Face Miner. You play as somebody recently indoctrinated as an agent in the Face Miner operation. As an agent of this force, you purchase datasets of human faces and are tasked with extracting the most valuable and best quality human faces out of these packets. Using the funds you generate from these datasets, you can upgrade your computer storage, memory, CPU, and cooling to better suit this new lifestyle. By processing faces, you can receive a new rank in this agency, and reaching a specific rank can unlock more upgrades like nuclear reactors, water recycling, firewalls, and tens of thousands of cameras, so you can create your own datasets of faces. Throughout your journey, you are emailed by other Face Miner operators, who all have different things to say and sometimes doubt this entire operation. I really just want to quit, okay? Please, I've sent administration my resignation letter like 20 times and get no response. And the alarm keeps blaring, so can't stop mining faces. I just want out, please. Jarvis, give him 40 years in a gulag. Upon learning that you are the only agent employed at Face Miner, it is far too late to go back, as you have increased the global heat index significantly to further increase your face mining production. The game ends after you've successfully made Earth inhospitable, and I was completely floored by how awesome this game was. Face Miner is easily the most fascinating clicker I have ever played. It has an eye-watering amount of innovative ideas, not to mention the entire core concept of the game. Upgrades are both easy to obtain but difficult to master, as you have to juggle a multitude of things in order to not ruin your run. If you don't have a surplus of electricity, you will be taxed ridiculous amounts of money. If you don't have a surplus of computer parts, your PC will run out of memory or overheat and you will fail. You have to constantly juggle these upgrades, and it makes for a very engaging clicker. Once you thought the game can't introduce something new, it does, as seemingly around every corner it was always providing me with something different to maintain, like the emissions bill. Your operation extracts a heavy toll on the environment, so to counteract this, the game starts taxing you depending on how numerous your emissions are. In case you ever got bored of these things as well, the game was constantly updating you with lore via the means of emails and popping up emergency transmissions of the Earth slowly dying. Naturally, you should ignore these transmissions, as they impede your progress and prevent production. While we are going to cover one more clicker, and I feel like the next one is pretty obvious, Face Miner is without a doubt my favorite clicker on this list. I am still currently playing its endless mode, because it is something you unlock after finishing the game, and I fully expect myself to get all of the achievements for the game. S tier. Please go and buy Face Miner. Would you look at that, everybody? We have made it to the last clicker we'll be covering today. Everything we have worked towards is finally coming to a conclusion. So roll out the red carpet with a drumroll please as I introduce Cookie Clicker. It's really not shocking at all. You play as a person with the idea to bake a batch of cookies, and it slowly turns into the most insanity-inducing event ever seen in the history of humanity. Now, I have over 6,000 hours on Cookie Clicker on Steam, and I gave it up in August 2024, so I absolutely refused to launch the game on Steam. It had a hold over my life, and I sold all of my possessions, lost all of my friends and family, and became homeless, but nothing else mattered. Cookie Clicker was all I needed. So, I decided to make a brand new save on the browser version, and I really felt like I was going through withdrawal. But don't let what I'm saying stop you from playing the game. Cookie Clicker is the most well-known clicker for a reason, because it just has so much great content inside of it that there is no way I can even summarize a quarter of the game in this brief review. While initially slow, Cookie Clicker is a game meant for the long run, but even during the slowness, it provides you with new things every couple minutes, and it is deeply satisfying to see all of these stats go upwards. It's a game that is beautifully refreshing, incredibly engaging, plentiful with its awesome upgrades, buildings, sprites, and so much more. I mean, it's a game where you can spend 6,000 hours playing it and still not have all of the achievements, so that's just how far the rabbit hole goes with this game. Anyone who has lost their mind like I have and has spent a ridiculous amount of time on it, they know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, I implore you to play Cookie Clicker and try your best to beat the game as well. S tier. The best clicker that will ever be made. Well everyone, that's about all the patience I have left for playing clickers. We played and reviewed 21 different clickers this video, which is just a mind-boggling amount of games for one video. If you enjoyed this video, it would be very awesome if you subscribe to my funny channel. I feel like I earned that after torturing myself like this. This is not the last of my tier listing escapades, as I am working on a part 2 for the Half-Life mods tier list, which I actually have been streaming, and I plan on streaming sometime again after uploading this video. So yeah, Clicker Games tier list. Please let me know how much you hate my categorizations. It will give me immense satisfaction.